Hello everyone. Today I want us to talk about floats. So we have two types of floats. One of them is figures and the other one is tables. So let's start with tables. So I'm going to continue with the documents that we had, the document that we had created, firstclass.tech. All right, let me remove the structure. All right. I want to create a simple table here. So to create a table, we need to use an environment called tabular. And tabular has one argument. One argument. In this argument, we specify the type of alignment that we need for our table. So for example, we can use left to mean the first column should be left aligned. When I add another left, I mean that we have two columns and they are both left aligned, and adding many more columns, L, this is L, will mean that we have like 3 columns here and they are all left aligned. We can have R to mean right aligned, or sometimes we may specify the width of the column, like 5 centimeters. And you see this is P. I think P is for some kind of paragraph or something, but this will specify the width of the column. So let's start with 2 columns specifying length and width. So usually in a table, we may need to have something like the vertical lines, the horizontal lines, which shows the boundaries. So we can have a table without boundaries, and we can have a table with boundaries. So let's try this one without boundaries. So I'm going to have row 1. And then I'm going to say this is the first row. I just want to demonstrate how this width will determine the size of the column. So this is the first row. Just checking. So this alignment tab means that this is the first, sorry. So this it will be the first row, first column. This will be the first row, second column. So we're just checking. That means we are ending that, just like matrices, we're ending that row. Now we enter row 2. Okay, now let's run it and see what we obtain. Okay, so here, as you can see, where was it? Yeah, we have some kind of a table here. We do not have the boundaries for that table. So how do we add the boundaries? But before that, I want to just edit some of the format or structure. I'm going to say, sorry. set length per skip. Going to set it at 1 em. I'm going to set another set length per indent. I don't like indentation, so I'm going to set it at 0. Okay, so let's see what we have so far. Okay, so we see that there's some enough spacing here. Okay, so let's try making the table so that we have some kind of boundaries. Let me put it here. So I'm going to use this vertical line here, just next to, it's on the same key as backslash. Just press shift and backslash. So that is where it's usually placed in most keyboards. Okay, so I put every vertical line here represents a vertical line on the table. If we do not include the middle one, then this part will not have that vertical line to separate the columns. So we need to put it there. And now for the horizontal line. So remember, we start horizontal line before the first row. So I'm going to say H line before, going to copy this, and after the line. So after the line, and then here. But here, we can't put it in the same line as the row, so we must end that row and then the H line. Okay, so the spacing is not really important. Let's see what we have. Yeah, and that is the kind of table that we obtain. Okay, so let me try now having a table with what we call a multi-column or a multi-row. So we can just manipulate this table so that it has a multi-column and a multi-row. Or we can just create another table. Let me just create another table here. Tabular. Going to use vertical lines, left, vertical line, left, vertical line, H line. Okay, so the first thing I want is to take the two columns. So I'm going to say multi-column. So multi-column means takes the two multiple columns. So 2 columns, and here the alignment, I want it to have vertical, center, vertical, and whatever comes in will be, let me just write something like Manchester United team, and that, and H line. So this will take both the 2 columns. So there's nothing else to add. It just takes the whole of the first row, which is 2 columns. Now the next one, I'm going to have something like player, and then I'm going to have like position, and then I end that H line. Or I can have position and players. Okay, So for example, the first one, I need to have two goalkeepers. So I'm going to say multi-row. It will take two rows. Here we have a star. I don't know why we use a star, but I don't know. Just use a star. I'm going to write goalkeeper. Or goalkeepers. Goalkeeper. And then I'm going to have Anderson. And that will end the first, that row. And then H line. No need for H line, sorry. Next. So we have a multi-row, meaning this goalkeeper will take this row and the first row and the second row, not first really, but two rows. So the first row being Henderson, so the second one here is going to be De Gea. But now there's no need of including anything in the first column, as the goalkeeper has taken the two rows in the first column. So I'm going to write nothing there, and then I'm going to write De Gea. And now I may use H line as I've done I'm done with the goalkeeper section. Now next thing I'm going to write like 4 defenders. So not multi column, but multi row. So 4 star defender. Okay, so the first one will be one Bissaka. Sorry. Next, we skip that first column. We have show. Next, we skip that first column. We have Lindelof. We then skip the first thing, and then we have Maguire. And that is it. So I'm going to have an H line. And now let's see what we have. But before that, you will see this multi-column does not require any package, but multi-row requires a package. And therefore, since the package is not included, we are likely to get an error, undefined control sequence of multi-row, because multi-row is not defined at the moment. So you can see undefined control sequence, multi-row. So we need to include here a package called multi-row. And there we have. So you can see the first row spans through the two columns, which is a multi-column, as we here, this multi-column. So it takes the first column and the second column. So two columns, it's a multi. This one is just a normal one. This takes two rows, is a multi-row. And this one takes 4 rows, and therefore it's a multi-row. So we may decide to have a line here, but not an H line. So that is going to be a column line. So here I'm going to input after Henderson. Here I want to put a column line, and the column is the second column, so 2 to 2, because it's just the second column. If there were 3 columns and there's another column here that we needed to do the line, we would include it. So let's see what that does. So as you can see, this is a column line. It's just does the horizontal line in that column. So we can do the same for the others. Okay, so I believe that I've mentioned anything to do with tabular. So now we need to make it a float by using a table environment. So table environment will enable us to do what we call captions and therefore do cross-referencing. So I'll mention something to do with cross-referencing when I'm doing theorems in the next lesson. So how do we use this table environment? So before tabular, so we use table environment there, and we specify that this table must be placed here. So LaTeX has a tendency of moving stuff, especially the floats. It decides where they are going to be placed. So the best way to avoid that is to say that I want this table here, that is in that specific position. Although sometimes it does not work, and I will tell you when it does not work. So centering. Centering means we are going to make it to center the table. And then here I'm going to end the table. But before I end the table, after the tabular, I can input a caption. And this caption is going to be numbered, but the numbering is done automatically, as we've seen. So I'm going to call it what? Manchester United. Squad. Something like that. And let's see what happens. So now the table has a caption, as you can see. And now as you're doing your table of contents, you can also do a table, list of tables. So list of tables, but without the caption, the tables without the caption will not be captured. So let's see what we have. Remember, you have to run it twice so that you can have anything there. Now you have one table, which is Manchester United squad. You have content, etc. So that is what we do. So if we want to include the other table, which other table do we have here? The one with some line, this one. I can do it here. Just begin table. Here. Centering. Caption. Our first table. And table. So our first table is here, table 2.1. And when we go here, it might not have come here unless we run it twice. So let's see. We have now two tables and they are numbered on their pages. So this is just very simple. You don't need to worry about. You don't need to worry much about creating of tables. So there's we have more formatting on tables, but that is not important for now. So you can just use Google to know how to do formatting depending on the table that you want to create. So now I can mention something about the second type of float, which is figures. So I'm going to replace one of the tables here, this one, with a figure. So I can just comment that by pressing Ctrl T for commenting. So I'm going to use a command, include graphics. Scale, this scale depends on the size of the image that you need. For example, I may say just 0.5. So I can manipulate that depending on the size that I want. And then the name of the image. I don't know the name of the image. Let me check the name. Is cylinder. So cylinder.png. Sometimes you don't need the .png. The extension is not really important because if there is only one cylinder image, that is what will be picked by Python. However, include graphics requires a certain package. So as you can guess, when we run this, we are going to obtain a very special kind of error, undefined control sequence. I've mentioned this error several times so far. So it means that this command is not defined or is defined in a certain package that is not used in the document. So you can see this is undefined control sequence. So we need to include that package graphics with an X. Graphics package with an X. Let's see what we obtain. Yeah, so this is the image that I wanted to bring in. It looks a little bit smaller than, maybe it's the right size, but you can increase the size, so maybe 0.8. So that will make the size a little bit bigger. Yeah, so now this is a little bit bigger, it's occupying everything, but I don't want it to take the whole page. Okay, so that is it. So we can use now the figure environment. So the figure environment now enables us to also do the captions and also capture it in our list of figures. So we're going to use begin figure. And again, as a float, we need to specify that it goes here. Oh, sorry, I did not include a caption. Going to say caption here. A Python program. I did not center, as you can see, it has been pushed. And this one has come at the middle. So I'm going to say centering. When you use a float, you cannot use begin and end center. But when you're not using a float figure, you can use begin center, end center. However, when you're using a float, use the centering command. This centering command, you can only use it in floats. I think. So now you can see it's nicely done and labeled. So now after here, we can do also a list of figures. So remember, we have table of contents, list of figures, and list of tables. So again, you have to run it twice. For the first time, you just see the title, but nothing else. So you have to run it twice. So if you're not interested in running it twice, you can do some configuration here. Do the manual user, go to wizard, do PDF LaTeX twice, and then view PDF viewer. Okay, and okay. So that means you will not need to do to run it twice for things to work out, but the running takes a bit more time than the normal one. So I mentioned that I will mention something else, that sometimes the floats do not appear in places where you might want them to appear. Let me just copy this. Well, here, our first subsection. Let me just copy something. I have non-numbered section. Let me just copy this. Sorry. To here. Let me see if I can demonstrate something that I want to demonstrate. Okay, so there we have. Okay. Where are we? Which page was that? It's not actually working the way I want it to work. Let me check. You can see it's taking a little bit more time. Okay, the wording is not really much, so it's not working the way I want it to work. So what I wanted to demonstrate, let me just explain. You will see it when you're writing maybe bigger documents. You will notice the difference. So it's taking a bit of some time. So suppose you have an image that you want to place somewhere. So suppose I want to place an image here after this, and then it's followed by some text. I think I can just create that situation, but it's going to take some. Let me just find some words from here. I'll paste it here. This is a demonstration. That may or may not work. Let's check. Okay, so let's see if this works. Now, this has just worked. Or sometimes, so this is the table. Okay, so let's say I wanted to place it here, and then it's followed by some wording here. So sometimes LaTeX pushes these words back here and then the table forward, but that has not worked. Maybe there's some changes in how that was handled, or maybe it was handled. It was some kind of a bug, probably. But anyway, if you encounter that, you can mention it in comments so that we can see how we can handle it manually. So that will be it for now. So see you next time.